So as I was saying before, that I walked into this audition for a commercial, and then I stopped. Did you notice something? Well, I hope you wanted to hear what was going to happen next. Now, this is going back to one of those most fundamental fiction storytelling elements, which is called the cliffhanger. Build, 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 get the reader interested, and then cut away to something else. Now remember, we're writing personal essay and memoir, but that doesn't mean that fiction and storytelling, as I've been saying all along, isn't going to play into what we're doing. All of this to say, we're writing a piece. I'm trying to look for deeper, I'm trying to look for substance. I wanted to write about this experience doing this video now. I've gone back to talk about my acting. I've given the background of that. Now I'm talking about this moment when I was, I guess, in my early 20s. I walk into this audition and I'm in the casting room and they say to me, "We're so happy to see you, and here's what the audition is going to be. We're going to play a song that at the time was super popular, and it was by Will Smith, and it was called Getting Jiggy With It." And they said, "We're going to play this song, and we'd like you to just dance along to it," which I felt like, okay, I can do that. And they said, "Oh, and it doesn't even have to be good dancing, it can be funny dancing." And I said, "That's fine. And when the chorus comes in, which was Getting Jiggy With It, if you could just sing along to that." And I said, "That's fine. And if you could sing along with an accent." And the accent they wanted me to do was a Middle Eastern accent. So the idea was, here I showed up for this audition, but they had brought me in because of my name, Saeed Serafizadeh. And the idea was, now I was going to be a bit of a clown, dancing along to Getting Jiggy With It, doing this accent. Now, right now, cut away in this moment and let you wonder whether or not I actually did it or not. But I'll let the cat out of the bag and tell you, yes, I danced along and did it. Just to go back, I started by saying I wanted to write about this experience doing this teaching video in this room. And now I've talked about my acting experience. And now I've gotten into something else, which is xenophobia in the United States and my having to deal with being of Middle Eastern descent in the United States. The piece has become deeper. There are more layers to it. Let me just show you, if I was going to put this into prose, how this might work. Let's say this is the opening line. Now, these aren't hugely polished, but here's the idea. I want the opening line to just establish what's going to happen. As you can see, it says, "One afternoon, I found myself on the campus of Wesleyan University staring at a camera, teaching instructional videos on how to write nonfiction. And now I want to bring in some background and context." And here's that paragraph. "I had always wanted to be on stage, beginning when I was at least 7 years old and had performed as Philip in The Beaver Coat by Gerhardt Hauptmann. That I had been cast over other children seemed to indicate that I had some talent, even at that young age, and that I would do well to continue to pursue this." Now, that last line of that first paragraph, I hope, is going to make the reader want to keep reading more. And then here's the following paragraph. "That I had been cast as a character named Philip, however, would be mostly an aberration, when years later, casting directors would not be able to see past my long and curious name and would want to cast me primarily as deli owner, taxi cab driver, or terrorist." So that's the beginning of this personal essay that began with talking about doing this instructional video in this room. Now, I want to end this fictional discussion with something that is a lot easier to do when you're writing fiction, which is to write an unlikable character. So if we're writing about someone invented, the stakes are low. If we're going to show or express unsavory characteristics, the question is, if we're writing about ourselves, what can we reveal about ourselves? How honest are we going to be able to be about our own selves? And I think this is really essential for personal essay and memoir, because it's okay to talk about other people and to have a keen eye about them, but are we going to be able to bring that eye back to ourselves? And James Baldwin, the great American author, said that truth is a double-edged sword, that you're going to cut yourself on it as well. I want to just bring up one thing that I felt helped open up my writing. Now, I've just talked about having experienced xenophobia, but what about my own xenophobia? So in 1990, I'm going to say early 2000s, when the Second Gulf War began and I was living in New York, I got into an altercation with a cab driver from the Middle East. And we had some words. I was on my bicycle and he cut me off and we had some words. And what flitted through my head, but I didn't say aloud, was go back to your own country. And then I decided, I'm going to write a piece about this because I felt like this will be an interesting thing. Here I am, the war has begun against Iraq, and now I had this altercation with a cab driver. And I described that scene and I got right to the moment where the thought flitted through my head, go back to your own country. And I said, I can't possibly reveal that about myself. But there was some part of me that knew that if I'm going to be totally honest about this experience and also about who I am, it was something I needed to reveal. And so I did. And of course, within the context of my own Middle Eastern descent, it made it very complicated that this thought was in my head. But it also opened up a certain element of my writing, which is that it's important to reveal about yourself as much as you reveal about others. So we've just talked about fiction and nonfiction and the overlap, and now we're going to have Amy Bloom, who's going to come in and we're going to talk to her. And she's a great person to talk to because she does fiction and personal essay, and she's written novels, and she's a best-selling author. And so we'll continue this discussion about how the two overlap.